No. Yes, that is true. It's because you're asking about the because you're asking about the number 8.
Thank you. Welcome back to the September 21st, 2021 business meeting of the Hauppauge School District Board of Education. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
5C on the agenda is adoption of minutes from the business meeting of August 24th, 2021. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Dr. Pratt. Mr. Squeeder with the second. Any discussion on the minutes? All those in favor? Opposed? 5-0-2. Mrs. Capisi and Mr. Fortmeyer absent. 5A on the agenda, recognition and awards. There are none tonight. Number 4 on the agenda, Superintendent's update. Dr. Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Boucher. Good evening, everybody. Just a few updates. Yesterday we launched officially universal pre-K in the district in our elementary schools. 2 classrooms. Yep, wasn't without a few hiccups, but I just wanted to thank Mr. Tasman and Mrs. Villarreal for their hard work on making this happen. And we were fortunate that even with the lottery, all Hauppauge families who requested a spot, we were able to accommodate. So, excellent job all around. Today I walked classrooms in the high school and middle school with the principals and APs. It was so great to see so many of my teacher colleagues engage with students with the same energy and enthusiasm I'm just known to expect. They never disappoint. I'll be posting some pictures and even a video of Mrs. DeLuca on Twitter, and then I'll be posting some more when I hit the elementary schools in the coming days. Since our last meeting, we had the 20th anniversary of September 11th. That was remembered in all of our schools. Students and staff wore red, white, and blue, sang patriotic songs. That was at the elementary level. And we were so fortunate, Mrs. Ferrara was able to secure the Marine Band who performed second period at the high school. Mrs. Gordon, Director of Social Studies, also led an effort to capture faculty and staff memories in sort of a Google Doc time capsule. And of course, that was a heavy day for all involved. And then just lastly, trying to keep with different traditions and back to normal as much as we can. Just hope to see everybody at homecoming on Saturday, October 2nd. The parade begins at 3:30, and then of course the football game at 5:30. So go Eagles! Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. Number 5B on the agenda is presentation from Beechwood Homes. Mr. Tasman.
Thank you, Mr. Boucher. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure tonight to first start off with Ms. Barbara Graziano from Western Suffolk BOCES to do a presentation on our demographic enrollment facilities overview. We commissioned Ms. Graziano's work back in 2019, I believe it was, and she's here tonight to present her findings. Thank you.
Should be on. Jimmy, can you lend a hand, please? Give me yours. On. It is.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Barbara Graziano. I am the manager of school planning and research at Western Suffolk BOCES, and I'm very happy to be here tonight to share with you the results of the study that we have completed for the district. I'll tell you just a little bit about the Office of School Planning and Research. Since 1985, we have completed more than 1,100 studies for districts, not just on Long Island, but also for many districts north of the city in the Hudson Valley. Some local districts that we work with include Smithtown, Comac, Sayville, East and West Islip, and so forth. What is involved in the study? We start by researching the demographics of the study of the district, and that includes births, of course, a very important component. And we look at state births, county births, all the way down to births within the school district. We also research housing data. We look at the levels of housing turnover, as well as median sale prices, to see whether those factors are trending up, trending down. Also, we contact the local municipalities to find out if there is any housing currently under construction or if there are any new proposals before the planning boards. Then we also do a lot of research on population trends that we gather from the Census Bureau, and that would include not just whether the population is trending up or trending downward, but also we look at changes to the ethnic structure of the resident population, any changes to the age structure, as well as other household variables. And then we also look at non-public school enrollment to see if there are any school openings or closings that could impact district enrollment. And then we analyze district enrollment, and that includes trends over the past 10 years. And part of that is analyzing migration, grade-to-grade migration trends. In other words, does a cohort tend to gain, maintain, or lose students as children move from one grade to the next grade in the following year? And from those, by analyzing that, we come up with migration ratios that are used to develop grade level projections. And the last one there, the birth persistence analysis. This is where we analyze the number of kindergarten enrollment compared to the number of births 5 years prior. And from that, we develop kindergarten birth ratios that are used to project kindergarten enrollment. These are a few of the research sources that we use. A big one is the Census Bureau. Also, the State Department of Education, State Department of Health, the Office of Real Property Services, National Center for Health Statistics, local planning boards, and of course the school district. I'm often asked about the accuracy of our projections. Overall enrollment projections produced by Western Suffolk BOCES generally fall within a 4% margin of error. Usually better than that even, I would say. However, you should know there are 3 categories of projections. The first being projections that are based on students already enrolled in the system, which are the most reliable. The next category would be projections based on documented births, which are slightly less reliable, and then projections based on estimates of future births, which are the least reliable. And of course, the most reliable projections are those calculated for the periods closest in time, particularly for the first 5-year period. Next, we'll take a look at the demographics. This slide shows you just the resident population within the Hauppauge School District from 2000 through 2020. And as you can see, between 2010 and 2000 and 2010, the population increased 5.3%, or by almost 1,200 people. But then between 2010 and 2020, there was a decrease of 3% in the resident population, or approximately 700 people. And this is very consistent with surrounding districts, which have a similar demographic composition to Hauppauge. This slide shows you changes to the age structure of the resident population, starting with 2000 up through 2019. The Census Bureau has not yet released age data from the 2020 census, so these are 2019 census estimates. So as you can see, the preschool population, which is children under age 5, if you look at 2000, 6.8% of residents were of that age that year, and that has dropped down to 5.2%. Likewise, school age, children ages 5 to 19 has dropped down from 19.4% to 17.7% in 2019. If you go to the next drop down a few bars, and if you look at the 65 and older, the senior population, there has been a significant increase there. In 2000, that segment accounted for 11% of the resident population, whereas in 2019, that segment had grown to almost 19% of the population. And those changes are reflected in the median age of the district, which has increased from 43.1 years in 2010 to 44.6 years in 2019. This slide shows you Nassau and Suffolk births, and as you can see, there have been significant declines in both counties. There's been about, over this period of 1999 through 2019, births in Suffolk declined approximately 25%, and in Nassau, about 18.5%. And this is, this mirrors the national trends. In 2020, births were down, nationally were down 4%, which is, it may not sound like a lot, but that's significant. And in New York State, year to year, births were down more than, down about 5%. So births continue to decline. The millennials are not having babies. Next, we'll look at enrollment. It shows you Suffolk County public school enrollment for the period of 2010 through 2020. And during that period, there was a loss of more than 30,000 students, or approximately 12%. Then this shows you the enrollment trends in the Hauppauge school district. The historical enrollment from 2010 through 2020, and during that time there was a decrease of almost 800 students, or approximately 20%. Decreases are expected to continue during the next 10 years. Not as a larger decrease, but still we're projecting a decrease of 393 students, or 12% by 2030. It shows kindergarten enrollment. Historically, for the last 10 years, 2010 through 2020, kindergarten cohorts ranged within 200 to 265 students each year. We're projecting from through 2030 that there will be fewer kindergarten students enrolled, and that enrollment will range within 194 to 227 students. This chart shows you comparatively for the last 10 years where the losses were by grade configuration. And as you can see, the elementary grades recorded the largest loss with a loss of more than 400 students, or approximately 24%. The middle grades lost 250 students, and the smallest loss was in the high school grades. During the next 10 years, the elementary configuration will level off somewhat, and the middle grades will also see a smaller loss, while the high school grades will see a greater loss when compared to the last 10 years as smaller cohorts move up through the system. Then we'll take a look at the facilities. My team did an analysis of each district operational building in the district, and based on information provided by the building administrators, we were able to develop a capacity for each building. So you might say, capacity, what is that? Well, the New York State Education Department defines operating capacity as the total number of students a building can reasonably and efficiently house based on the district's class size policy and the number, size, and current use of the rooms. So if you look at this chart, an 800-foot classroom, if it's a regular ed classroom, the capacity of that classroom would be 25 kids, say. If that's a special ed classroom, the capacity of that classroom would be 15 children, say. So there are a lot of, to overall say, to generalize, yes, it's how many kids you can fit in a classroom times the number of classrooms.
Understood. So, you got that, right?
Using like gym sizes and cafeteria sizes as part of your
Rooms like cafeteria and library are not counted into the capacity.
Please use the microphone, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Yeah, just tilt the mic a little bit more towards your
Thank you.
face.
Sure.
Stephanie, do you have a question?
Well, I'm saying, so is that 50% including, like, say, the gym, cafeteria, that square footage of the building?
Well, the cafeteria is not, that's a common area. The common areas are not counted into, it's assumed that every school will have a cafeteria, every school will have a library. They are not calculated into the capacity of the building.
So,
Stephanie, it's not ultra specific, right? I mean, it's a math equation where they're taking out certain areas of the school and using the rest of the square footage divided by number of children.
10% makes it sound like even if just 10% of the classrooms, they're not.
Yeah. So, understood. Do you have a further question? I understand, and you'll have time to talk about whether you like this or not, but do you have any other questions concerning the, thank you. Ms. Mass? Yeah.
Same question, in other words.
Eileen, do you mind just standing so we can hear you?
Eileen Mass. Same question on the square footage. And this is more of a comment now that we've gotten that far. Bretton Woods, I can tell you from being the mommy there, 850 kids during the 90s with 2 portables, as well as we were using closet space for reading classrooms. So I'm confused as to how you got 1,000 students as being a capacity for there. That the math still doesn't make sense then, even if we take the common. And that was when class sizes were bigger. So I'm confused as to how you're doing that. Because 850, we were in the portable.
Yeah, so let me ask you, is the underlying data or the underlying calculation something that's reproducible to the board and community? I mean, is that included in the report? Can it be included?
Yes, it's all in the report.
Okay, so Ms. Mass.
And there's,
Yeah.
for example, and I don't remember offhand, I have to go back and look, but like several of the, according to the information we received from the principals in the elementary schools, several of they have empty rooms or rooms that are being used. I think in one case, the PTA is using one of them.
Understood. So Eileen, to your point and to other people's points, we'll get the backup for the conclusions, and we can pick it apart as much as we want. And if we determine that a further analysis or a different analysis or a deeper analysis needs to be done, we'll do it.
But it's all in the study that you have a copy of. Every room is listed in the facilities section and the usage of that room and,
Understood.
And the methodology.
Right.
Your employment.
Right.
Yes.
I think it will go a long, I'm sorry, Eileen, I think it'll go a long way if people are able to see the backup for the conclusions.
yes.
When you do that backup, in other words, if you're including the principals that are there now, none of them were there in the 90s. In fact, I don't think any of them were in the school district. So if you're getting, not that they're wrong, but in other words, that information from people that were actually in the school district and knew the utilization of those buildings with portables on that, you need to, that needs to be somehow
Yeah,
included.
so Eileen,
Historical.
let's agree to start with getting the backup and then we can have a further discussion as to whether we think we need more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. Any further questions concerning the data? Yes, the woman in the back? Hi.
My question is, where are these 4-year-olds that just started the new program for Sound Brady? And does the study also include scope? Because I work for scope and
No, the study addresses K to 12.
yeah, they're
Hauppauge
very, you know,
involved.
they're very,
Any scope or anything else you'd have to
because they're
address here.
So, yeah, the quick answer, I think, was it does not include the pre-K kids and it does not include the scope kids. Yep. Yes, ma'am. Do you mind standing up so we can all hear you? It's just easier.
Last year, Hauppauge was one of the few districts that was able to offer K through 12, 5 days a week, and that's because you had the space.
Yes.
Considering COVID's forever and never ending, and it'll be here in 1,000 years, don't you want to be therefore in a better position and have more space should such a thing ever happen?
Yes,
Why would you
certainly.
ever want to give up excess space?
Certainly, you make a good point. You know, we all hope that the pandemic's not here forever, but who knows? But that should be a consideration for the voters when you go to the poll. Certainly, yeah. Okay, and I believe the second part of the presentation will get into that, but you will have a chance again to ask additional questions. But it's a fair point. Any further questions? Yes, sir.
I think all of us seen that every house around here has sold, and there's all young people moving in, young families, and I don't know, I see like projections from 2020, but since COVID, things have changed around here. Every house that's sold is filled with
You are
young
correct,
people.
that the housing market has been hot, there is no question
And
about
the
that.
school, you
I
guys
think-
are not gonna come back and ask us to build another school because in a few years, so
But let me also reinforce that birth rates, you know, are still going, they're still on the downtrend, and these are not my, believe me, I'm not making these numbers up, these are from the Department of Health, and experts are expecting that births will be going
I just see
lower
my own eyes.
in
People moving in.
2021.
Little babies and having children, those kids are coming to Hauppauge schools. And like this is back when I was here in the 70s too. I was born.
I think it's important, yeah, I think it's important to just make clear, you know, we specifically didn't ask for an opinion, we asked for data, and that's all that's being presented, and the data is what it is, and we can poke holes at the data, right? And we all see with our eyes, you know, all these things going on, and we'll see what the data looks like, and we'll look at it there, but, you know, this isn't opinion-based, this is data-based. We can look at the data and make sure it's accurate, but other than that, yes, ma'am. Do you mind standing up?
I don't really know where you're getting your data because my best friend is an anesthesiologist who just had 50 births yesterday in Good Sam that they never had before in their life, so birth rates are not going down. They're not.
Ma'am, again,
But I know
let me just finish. She's just telling you what the data says. Whether the underlying data is false or not is a
I
different
can't
issue.
remember it anymore, but anyway. Forest Brook, you mean to tell me that Forest Brook is 40% capacity?
Again, it's
That's
math,
absurd.
yeah, ma'am, it's math, but we'll provide the underlying data. It's math, that's all it is, yeah.
40%, but you're gonna up the classes of the kids, and then they're gonna have less teacher, you know.
So there's no plans whatsoever to change our class size limits, 0. Any further questions or comments, just concerning the data, and I promise everyone's gonna have a shot at their opinion. Yes?
This is one question.
Is it a question?
It is, what is the purpose of all of this information that we've gathered? What's the end game of?
What's the purpose? We commissioned, if I may, we commissioned 2 years ago, and I think a couple of years prior to that, a population study to see whether enrollment, anyone that's involved in sports in this town, you see that the leagues are decimated, right? We see that there's less kids. We wanted to see whether that was, one, what the cause of that was, but two, whether that was going to continue or not. So as part of our due diligence as a board, we looked at, the purpose of this was the result of asking for a study to determine what we can expect in the future.
I got one.
Yes?
I mean, with this, it's showing that we got too much space for what we need. Does that mean our taxes?
I don't think anyone said too much space, but,
Does it mean our taxes are not going up? Our school taxes won't go up?
you know,
I mean,
the answer to that is no. I'm just being honest. Yes, Mr. Tisa?
Is there any way I could get a
No.
copy of her analysis?
It's gonna be, listen, it's public, it's for public consumption, it'll be on the web. Yeah, it's not just for us and it's not just for people that are here, it'll be on the web for everyone to see.
And is she going off what census?
So the slides,
Off the 2010, the
Giselle,
Yeah, and for this, we looked at 2000, 2010, and not all of the 2020 census data has been released yet, but for data that was released, we included that.
Giselle, and the slides will be on the
Yeah,
internet as
but
well.
as far as the 2020 data, okay, so not all of it has been released.
Correct.
But
Will you be updating it?
let me explain that a little more. For example, the slide that showed the population. That 2020 population data has been, that's complete. In other words, where it shows that population decreased between 2010 and 2020. That data released by the Census Bureau is complete. What is not complete is they have not released the actual age structure. So that's why that slide shows 2019 instead of 2020.
I mean, theoretically, it could show a big bounce in under 5, right? And then that would change your projections.
It could, although.
I know it's unlikely.
Unlikely.
For argument's sake, it could change
But you're
the.
right, yes, yes.
Any further questions just on the data? Giselle, this is your fourth question.
Okay, if it is, and there is a balance, as you say, okay, are you gonna update this?
The board would ask her to update it, sure.
Okay, and wouldn't it?
If the board would like us to, I mean, that's something that down the road, if they want to commit for an update to this study, yes.
Although it's gonna cause that guy's taxes to go up.
Yes.
They don't really, you know, they don't have an accurate age.
No.
The area.
Let me reinforce though that Hauppauge mirrors really most of the surrounding districts. These are the same trends that we're seeing, and as you're seeing in most communities, the younger age segments are decreasing. Where you are seeing the increase is in the senior segment.
Thank you. Any further questions just on the data? Last question, Ms. Scaduto.
So, did anyone from that did this study physically go into the buildings, or just from the information?
Unfortunately, that is what we normally do, and we had originally planned to go in tour the buildings in spring of, what was it? At 19, I guess, and then Mr. Tasman, I asked Mr. Tasman if we should go ahead without it, and he said, no, I'd like you to tour the buildings in the fall. Of course, in the fall, everything was still shut down, we could not get into the buildings. So at that point, we had detailed checklists that we asked the building principals to fill out with the listing of each room, the usage of each room, the square footage of each room, and so forth. And that's what we had to do. So unfortunately, to answer your question, we were not, because of COVID, we were not able to actually visit the buildings. But we got pretty detailed information from the principals.
Just to be clear, the data that you used in lieu of entering the buildings was provided by the principals of the buildings?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Kim. We can give a clap. Mr. Tasman?
Part 2 of the presentation is from the team from Beechwood.
Good evening. I'm Michael Dove. I'm the founder of the Beechwood organization, lifelong Long Islander, building homes and communities for 35 years. Yeah, sure. So you may be familiar with several of our communities in the neighborhood. In 1995, for the old timers in the room, and that would include me, there used to be a site in Smithtown Drive-In, over by 347 and Route 25, and we built Country Point. Do what they think is in the best interest of the community, ran a process, and the process was there will be a referendum. We're going to go out to developers. We're going to ask the developers to submit their proposal and their price. I guess we submitted the highest price and an acceptable proposal. So that's what brings us here tonight. We certainly respect the community, whatever decision the community makes. I can tell you that as an individual, I publicly stated this about 25 years ago. If I never built another market rate house on Long Island, it would be fine with me, because all of us in this room have raised our kids on Long Island. We fight to pay our bills, we fight to pay our taxes. We're good citizens, and I want a place for people to stay when their children are grown up and they're tired of shoveling the grass and mowing the lawn. And that's kind of what I built a company doing. Other big sites we've done are Meadowbrook Point in Westbury, Country Point in Plainview. And I can tell you as a developer, when I see people who have lived in a community, you know, somebody commented before, you know, the houses are getting sold, they're turning over. And you have somebody who's lived in a community and wants to stay in the community, but be with people of a like age. These communities are really nice. So that's what, you know, we're all about. So in detail, this is my son, Stephen. He joined me. I started 35 years ago. Rich Rosenberg, who's a partner and our chief counsel, joined me about 30 years ago. Stephen joined me about 15 years ago. We're very proud of what we do. I can tell you that anywhere we've ever gone, we've always left the community better and have brought the community values up. I'm going to let Stephen run through our presentation. And remember, this is a presentation subject to the referendum. If the referendum doesn't pass, no hard feelings, we're all friends, and we hopefully, when the time comes, people in this room go to a different Country Point. But you know, these are trying times, and I thank everybody for coming out. So Stephen, why don't you take everyone through our proposal as we see it.
Yeah, before you begin, and don't kill the messenger, but we need to enforce the mask rule tonight. If you don't have your mask on, please put it on, especially with all these people in close quarters. If you're not wearing your mask, you'll be asked to put it on. If you don't put it on, you're going to be asked to leave. Thank you.
Thanks. Everyone able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So just want to give everybody an overview of what this process is, what's going on here, how we got here. So,
Lori, do you need a mask? Do we have an extra mask? Can you grab some extra masks for anyone that doesn't have one? And I'm sorry to interrupt you, I'm trying to.
no problem. Okay, so broad strokes. The reason we're here in this room is the school board determined that enrollment in the district K through 12 is declining. They closed the Whippoorwill, this building, the Whippoorwill School in 1980. The building has not been used in over 40 years. What they also determined through a study with an outside engineer is that this building needs over $3 million in capital expenditures and improvements in order to keep the building habitable, occupiable over the next couple of years. And I'll get into a detailed breakdown of what that $3 million is comprised of a little bit later on in this presentation. So the board decided the best thing to do would be to sell the school. And they put out an RFP process, a request for proposal to all developers. Beechwood was one of the companies that responded. We were selected because we offered the most money. We offered $13 million to the school district to acquire this school. And our plan is to build a 128-home retirement community. Very similar, if you guys drive about a mile due north, the old Smithtown Hospital on the corner of 347 and 111. We're just finishing that project now. Very, very similar to what that community looks like. So townhomes, villas. Villas are, there's a unit on the ground floor and a separate unit on the top floor, surrounding a clubhouse that has amenities like a swimming pool and card room, gym, etc. So that's our plan. What has to happen first, we were selected. The process now is there's a referendum. So that's why we're in this room. The school district members, you guys, and everybody watching on YouTube and elsewhere, has to vote on whether to ratify this contract or not. If the vote goes in favor of the referendum of the sale, we then apply to the town of Islip for our approvals, for zoning, site plan, etc., everything we need to put a shovel in the ground and build the community. The only thing, and I want to drive this point home, this is in the contract, the only thing that we are allowed to build per the contract is a for sale 55 and over community. There can be no rental housing or anything else for that matter. If we don't get a 55 and over for sale community approved, we cannot close on the land. So I just want to get that straight. I'm sorry?
Why is there stipulation?
Well, I think that the school board, first, that's what we want to build. And I think that the school board, as responsible custodians of the community, want to know what they're selling the land for, what the use is going to be. So just to get into a little bit of detail in terms of what we're looking to build, the top right picture there, those are townhomes and villas from our Country Point Smithtown Woods community on 347 and 111. The bottom two photos show clubhouses that are typical clubhouses that we've built in communities before. So just very, you can get a great picture, a great idea of what would be here if you drive up to Country Point Woods. This slide shows the existing conditions. On the left, that's the building that we're in now. The top right photo, I know it's a bit far away, is the bus refueling station in the back. And then the bottom right photo is a picture of the school as seen from the street. So you can see the site is already substantially clear, not heavily treed. This is a conceptual rendering showing what the community that we would build would look like. I wouldn't get too stuck on what the roads look like or the houses, et cetera. That can all change in the design process, but this gives you a general idea. And again, just it's good that we've got this larger photo so that everybody can see this is what the homes would look like. So there's no mystery. So if this referendum passes, I want to talk about what it means to the school district at large. So first of all, $13 million gets paid to the school district. That is $13 million for the district to use. I can't make the representation. I am just a private developer. In theory, that is money that would not need to come out of taxpayers' pockets in their tax bill. Additionally, the community is expected to provide about about $1 million a year in tax revenue to the district alone. So that excludes what goes to the county and the town. Total taxes, we'd estimate, would be about $1,650,000, so there'd be another $650,000 that would go to the county and the town, but the district itself would have a $1 million annuity, frankly, the way tax rates go, probably growing every year in perpetuity. And that is without putting any additional school children in the district, because remember, this is a 55 and over community. By the rules, the condominium rules, you cannot have a school-age child attending school living in one of those communities. So there's no additional burden to the district in return for getting that $13 million plus $1 million a year. The other thing that this would do is it would save the district from having to spend over $3 million on the capital expenditures that are needed very soon to keep this building habitable. We've been through enrollment tonight ad nauseum, so I'm not going to get into this. This is really for the experts. This is just a chart showing the projected declining enrollment in K through 12 in Hauppauge. And this shows our detailed tax projections, which, by the way, do not come from us. They come from a third-party tax professional. It shows at the top the $1,021,000 each year to the Hauppauge School District, $72,000 to the library district, and so on and so forth as you go down that list. One alternative, one thing people sometimes say is, well, this site, the underlying zoning is actually not for school, it's for 10 single-family homes. What if you just built the 10 single-family homes? So that would actually cost the school district about $90,000 a year. It's that negative $88,000 number that you see at the bottom of the screen. After the cost for the district of educating the additional children that would come from those 10 single-family homes. That's compared to, in the top middle of the screen, $1,021,000 that we project the district would receive from taxes from this community every single year going forward. So I said I'd give you some detail on those capital expenditures, and this is a report that the district commissioned. I'm sure that the district can make it available. So $1.8 million needs to be spent on roof repairs in this building, $820,000 to repaint the parking lot, $500,000 to replace the boilers, $20,000 on the bus refueling station. So that totals $3,140,000. And again, I am speaking just from my personal opinion here, but we all know things rarely come in on budget. And so I would expect, just my personal opinion, that it would probably cost district taxpayers even more. I'm going to get to Q&A. I just want to go through a few sort of common misconceptions that we've heard as we've done our outreach to the communities. We've knocked on doors and set up a stand at the ShopRite to talk to community residents. So one thing we hear is, will this increase traffic? As part of the rezoning process with the town, we will do a comprehensive traffic study. It is an issue that would be studied ad nauseum by the town and that everybody, including the community, would have input on. But in the short term, we had an initial traffic study done. And that initial traffic study compares our proposed 128 home retirement community to the building as it's being used today. And what that shows is that our community would generate 25% of the existing traffic. So traffic would be 75% less compared with during morning peak rush hour compared with the existing use today. In the afternoon rush hour, it would be the same. And in weekend rush hour, it would generate about 30 car trips over the rush hour time period. So a very low amount of traffic. And the one thing I would say, I know people sometimes you hear the data, but you know what's in your gut. I would encourage you to go to any other Beechwood retirement community that Beechwood's built, or frankly that any other builder has built. Watch the cars coming out of there during rush hour or in the afternoon, or frankly at any part of the day. These communities do not generate a lot of traffic, especially in the morning and the afternoon. They are filled with retirees, and the bulk of them are not getting up and going to work to be in the office by 9 a.m. and getting out at 5 p.m. Second thing we've heard is that this community will become rentals. So I talked about it before. It absolutely cannot become rental housing. The only thing that we can build here is for sale housing. It's in the contract, and by the way, the sales contract is on the district's website. It's also on our information website, which is countrypointsprings.com. And the only other thing I would add to this is we, Beechwood, in 35 years of doing business, we've built over 60 communities on Long Island, over 7,500 homes. We make our living on our reputation. We do not go into communities and say we're going to do one thing and do another. You will not find an example of a time that we said we were going to build for sale housing and then build rental housing. So sometimes who you do business with matters, and I just want to say that in our stead. Last thing is that we'll obtain tax abatements for the construction of this community, so that is absolutely false. There are no tax abatements available for sale housing construction. There are tax abatements available for rental housing construction. They're called pilots. We are not building rental housing, so we cannot get it even if we wanted to. But furthermore, you don't have to take my word for it. It's in the contract that we cannot go and obtain any tax abatements. There will be no subsidies to build this community. So I just want to summarize, and then I'll open this up for questions. If this passes, this means $13 million that goes to the school district. It means an additional $1 million a year to the school district with no children added to the district, so no additional burden. It will save the district over $3 million in costs that they will not need to spend to keep this building operable. And what we would build here would provide a community that would allow Hauppauge residents who do not want to deal with the maintenance or the size of their single-family homes, but want to remain in the Hauppauge community to stay here. The last thing I'll say is it will not, this will not move any K through 12 students out of this district because this building has not been used, this building has not been used for 40 years. So that said, I guess we can open it up to questions.
Yeah, so hang on, before we get to the questions, I'm going to ask Mr. Tasman to make a lot of noise and set that up. Just a note as to these meetings and or information sessions. I just wanted to quickly tell you that there'll be another one on October 6th at 7 p.m. at the high school, and a final one on October 19th, 8 p.m. here again. And then the vote, referendum vote, which is a majority rules vote, will be on October 21, 2021, between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m., ironically, in this building. Yeah, and all of this information, by the way, is on the website, the schedule, and the documents. So as we go to questions here, because I have a feeling that a lot of the questions we may get are the same concerns that people at home may have, I'm going to ask, if you want to speak, just form a line over there and just come up to the podium. There'll be a microphone up there, and let's try to do this orderly so that people at home can hear the questions and the answers. Ms. Mass, you'll be first as soon as we get a microphone up there.
Do I have to need a microphone?
I know you do not.
Right.
I've learned that. Anyone else who wants to speak, just please stand over near the stage. Hello, Eileen.
Good evening. I have a question. You said in the contract, it says that it's only for 55 and older. I read the contract. I saw 128 houses, no rentals, 10% for affordable housing, but I saw nothing about 55 and older in the contract. Can you show me?
I can.
Okay.
This is our.
Oh, good.
Our chief legal counsel.
Hi.
The contract specifically says residency district. Under the code, residency is limited to senior. So it didn't have to say that repetitive. It said 128 units pursuant to residency.
Are you saying residency or residency?
Residency. Like in.
So that's not the legal definition?
Yes.
Got it.
It's in the code. And
Okay.
Just a quick question. The woman next to me said during Stevens, why did the school district limit us to 55 and older? And the reason is, number one, it maximizes revenue, but also it limits the amount of children coming into the school district as a negative. So it was basically to get it on both sides, the price as well as the annual tax revenue.
Okay, you don't have to convince me of that. My comment, and if I can, just a comment. I appreciate the fact that you've come tonight and given us information. You guys, and I don't give compliments easily, but did a phenomenal job of getting information out to the school district, to the parents during COVID. I applaud you for that, your staff. Really very good job. Dr. Murphy, I enjoyed your very informative.
But, go ahead. I know you too well, Eileen.
Right, with information given out so well. In this case, and we did this with a bond vote a couple of years ago, the same thing happened. And I spoke at length to the superintendent at the time. I didn't make a big deal out of it. In today's day and age, I'm going to make a big deal out of voting is important to get community information out. If I could be wrong, we still have an email subscription, I believe that is sent out to the community. We have the website. I am on it, I look at it. I understand in this case that the information was built into the contract to be done by Beechwood. Believe you guys, we didn't have to spend any money. However, you just put the contract on today. You approved this in April, you had a meeting in June, and I got my calendar. It wasn't on the calendar that was sent home. It's now today on the calendar virtually. So you had enough time to get out information. It worries me and it makes people think that there's something wrong.
So fair enough. I will say that, we discussed it at our meetings, but to your point, Eileen, we have 2 more meetings. We'll get as much people out as possible. We'll do Backpack Express, we'll do whatever we do nowadays.
That is to the school community. You have a larger community built of more than just the school that you all represent, and now I am part of, where we don't have children in school anymore.
Yeah, so separate and apart from what Beechwood is doing to publicize the meetings, we will make sure we get out there to all 30,000 residents.
Next time, do it sooner. That's my.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Next time. Good.
Yes, Taxman.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
My name is Franco Bastone. My wife owns New Beginnings next door. I came home one day early to find 2 people down my driveway. Now, I never get up to talk. I had to come here and make sure that I voice my concerns. If they go around with information about what they're gonna do here, it needs to be, true information, nothing forced. I was told, and he's here too, I was told that this is a definite sale, and that if it's not gonna be 125 units or whatever, 55 and older, it's gonna be 10 houses. This is what was told to me, the 2 people here today. I'm not gonna turn around and look at them, because they're gonna know. And they're saying, and they also said that this school is not being used since 1980. The work that was done in this school for kids in need. I'm not taking my New Beginnings out of the way. That was done for these kids. And where they're gonna go, I have no idea.
Understood.
And I live 3 houses away. And if you did this during COVID, my street was a desert during COVID. Take that test when everybody's back at work. This is
You're talking specifically about the traffic?
The traffic, this is a road that goes from Town Line to Motor Parkway to the Expressway. There's traffic on here, and there's a school, and they do about 55 miles an hour down this road. And you're gonna have a driveway of people turning in, coming from both ways. It's gonna be a nightmare, but that's just me.
I got you, Frank. Hang on, and I'm calling you Frank.
That's fine.
The traffic study that you guys had commissioned, is that something that could be provided to the community, or is it proprietary, or something else?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so, and specifically before the next meeting, if we could.
Yeah.
We'll add it to our website, the traffic study, Frank, and
And also, I'm not here because of my business. I'm here because of my house next door.
and your taxes.
And my taxes. So just understand that. And I know I speak for a lot of people when I say it's great, we want to improve the neighborhood, but we need to look out for the kids in need, and the traffic and the safety of people driving in this neighborhood. And
Yeah.
people at 55 and over do drive. I just want to put that out there.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Hello,
Hi, how are you?
good.
Laura Bell. I have one quick question. Inside this building is transportation and other offices. If this building's sold, where are they going? To the Forest Brook where we're only 40% capacity? Where are you sending them? Or are you building another building to house who's here right now that works for the Hauppauge School District?
So no, the plan is not to build another building. We would go to other buildings. It could be, one of the elementaries, but more likely it would be like the high school. But we're gonna analyze that to see what makes the most sense based upon the departments here. So we have central office here, we have the PPS department, mentioned transportation, and there are some others. So if the community supports this, then we would have, 2 years to figure out what's the best way to, where should we all go?
So the buses and everything that is stored here are gonna go to one of the schools? Correct?
Correct.
So weekends, when they have football games and all that other stuff, you're gonna have the parking lot filled with buses. Where is the community gonna go?
Yeah, I'm not sure, we don't really have any buses, but the vehicles, I'm assuming. Fine, I'm not splitting hairs.
Because
Yeah, they'll.
high school now is packed all weekend.
No, I was just clarifying, we don't really have our own buses, but, I understand your point. To your point, yes, the vehicles will be in one of the parking lots. And just from the board's point of view, so you understand, the board loves the idea of having administration in the building, with the kids, so to that, that was a benefit for us, and administration is looking forward to that as well. But you're absolutely right as to your point, those cars, the maintenance vans or what have you will have to be somewhere.
And I know you just redid the middle school, but you didn't really add any space, so I was just curious as to that.
Understood. Thank you. Yes?
Hi,
Hi.
I've been in this neighborhood on this block since 1966.
Can't hear you, Dan.
Sorry, I've been in this neighborhood since 1966. I am afraid of Hoffman Lane already. And I've lived here since I'm 9, so.
You're talking about from a
Now you know how-
traffic standpoint?
Yeah.
Okay.
And not so much the traffic, but the how this road is built.
Yeah.
There are many blind spots. So I would like a better study on the road. I mean, if they were to do something like this, I think we'd need at least a stop sign and or a light.
So before we say a better study, let them produce the study they have.
Uh-huh.
And if it's insufficient in some way, or the district and or the board wants some further information, we'll ask them for it.
Right, I mean.
But let's not call it deficient yet.
Well, the difference is that, are you studying that it's 128 houses, which when I saw that, I kind of got nervous. But that the road is the way it is. No one's mentioning how this road is with its blind spots. Again, there is a gas fuel up here. Where will that go? Where will the supply, I know this is administrative, I know they get all the deliveries here. Again, if you really have that capacity. And the other thing that concerns me is the data that's been compiled so far is it's based on those numbers with the information. The only way you can do a study is with the information you get, right?
Yeah, you're talking about the enrollment data in particular?
We're talking about old school,
Yeah, yep,
declining, blah, blah,
Yes.
blah, attendance, da, da, da.
yes.
My concern is that because of last year and because of the new normal,
Right.
how far off that really is at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible, right? I mean, if they're predicting these things based upon trends, what the result of COVID is, whether it's a bubble up or a bubble down, no one really knows.
Right.
But let's get the data, which they promised to get us, let's look at it and have a discussion as to whether we want more or whether we think it's sufficient. But the data is what it is at the end of the day.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
And then where is this 13 million, where is it going to be allocated? Is there going to be like a schedule for that, where it goes? And can you freeze my taxes for the next 10 years, because it should be out of here by then?
Can we, so, yeah, I just want to check with council, because there's certain things we can and can't say, and no one's looking at from the podium tonight. Can we discuss that issue? Is that right for tonight?
Sure, and, we may not have a definitive answer tonight, it's still under study. Basically, the legal answer is used for any legal purpose.
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
So, since there is no debt on this building, the proceeds can be used for any legal purpose, including a tax reduction reserve fund, is one of the common uses of the funds. But we're studying that, we've made no decisions, and we will report, it will be in the best interest of the children and taxpayers.
Tax reduction sounds like an oxymoron to me, but okay.
There's a procedure in the law whereby a reserve fund can be established to reduce taxes over a period not to exceed 10 years. And that's certainly one of the options on the table, but there are other options as well.
And just one last thing, I know I'm taking up a lot of time.
You're not taking a lot of time. Good.
I looked at my tax bill today before I got here.
You are taking up too much time.
So over 5,000 is for the school. I don't have a problem educating children, I don't mind that. But then we have another almost $700 in library. So my thought always was that a library should be at a school, which originally it was. The library, the public library for Hauppauge was at the high school at one time. I don't know why they stopped it, but we're paying that kind of money for a library, which is, I think, just rented in that building.
I think Ms. Mass has the history to answer your question.
I was here when you were looking into that, Mr. Stuccio was here at the time. The library eventually did not want to rent here because it was way too much money for it to be configured. So it was talked about, there was many discussions.
Okay, I was just thinking if we have a lot of
we
extra
would-
space that we might want to consider a library.
It's something that we would love, to have the library here, but they didn't want us.
Okay, that's enough, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think some of the question was already answered, but with the sale of this, if there's $13 million, where is that $13 million going? Is that going into our schools, to things for our children?
So 100% yes. That's all we do with our money. But Gene, can you just repeat what you said before?
So, any legal purpose, meaning that it can be used for.
It's not going for bonuses.
So there's no plan of anything right now?
We have plenty of time to plan once the referendum takes place.
Because I met with I guess not the builders, but someone at ShopRite the other day, and I was talking to him, and he said he was told that this money was going to be allocated for, to build better athletic fields, which I don't think we need.
So, that's.
So I just wanted to make sure that, I mean, I hope that we're not spending that much money on athletic fields.
So, that's not a discussion we've ever had.
Okay.
I'm not saying that we wouldn't have that discussion, but this money is not earmarked for athletic fields at this
Okay.
point. Although that may wind up being a great idea.
I mean, it is a good idea, but not everyone plays sports.
Understood.
So that's, to me,
Yeah.
that's,
So just to clarify, that is not accurate, what you
Okay.
heard.
All right, I appreciate that, thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. Mass, round two.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
In the contract, we're selling this building if it passes as is, correct?
Correct.
Okay, asbestos removal and the gas tanks, how
We're responsible for it.
are your responsibility?
Yes, ma'am.
And as community members around you, in other words, I know there's a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done to do asbestos removal. That's all taken on by you, it has nothing to do with us. If you run into something unexpectedly, when you break ground, we're done, we sold it, correct?
Yes, you know something?
Yes, the bodies of former Board of Education members.
All board members are buried out there, all of us are.
We're taking a phone of the ashes.
It's our business. Could I just say that they had a due diligence period in which they conducted various tests, boards, et cetera, so they have satisfied themselves and they're taking it as is.
Okay, and they have the EPA report that we had done many, well, it's got to be over 5 years ago.
I believe as part of the due diligence, they studied every report that was available publicly.
Yeah, and we commissioned our own current reports, phase 1 and phase 2 environmental studies. So we're aware, we think we're aware of all the issues. And whatever we're not aware of, it's our problem.
It's your problem. Okay, just want to make sure. And just if I can, a comment. I know a lot of people here tonight are talking about enrollment and selling the building because people are remembering Honey Hollow. That was even before my time. It was right before my time. I'm going to say, I was on the board. I've been doing this I used to do this for a long time. We talked about opening this building. And as long as it was the Bretton Woods side of the school district, everybody seemed fine with it. They were going to be okay with it. We had gotten a study. I will tell you, the minute we talked about making it a K center or a 6th grade center, we were shut down so fast to make your head spin.
Eileen, because of the issues of
memory,
1980?
the memory
Yeah.
of it.
Mhm.
Because I will tell you, all reports, every report, and there's gotta be at least 4 or 5 of them out there, those reports all came back that this building was safe, because you would not have preschools in here if it wasn't safe.
Right.
You wouldn't allow yourselves to have little kids or adults in this building. So,
Although look what it's done to us.
and it has done much damage. However, I just will say, I understand where people are saying with the enrollment, and those numbers are really a little, I think, off in some ways. But I would be shocked if anybody agreed to open this building again. The Hauppauge has a long, long memory. So, just my comment.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I think I just have a question for the board. So you said that, if this sale goes through, you would have to move, correct? And my question to you, would you ever consider moving and maybe renting this half of the building? And that would increase my rent double. And that would bring money to the community. I mean, I literally really had to rent another building in Smithtown and bring money into a different community. And I still have families that don't want to go out there. I mean, I have families that live in Smithtown and rent and pay tuition in Smithtown, but my Hauppauge families want to be out in Hauppauge. And, you have 3 people renting out here. We're talking about what it would cost to fix this building. I know my rent, I know what I pay every month, and I'm willing to rent a whole other wing. I've been asking for the last 4 years. I'm completely busting out of the seams. And if this building shuts down, 50 of my employees are out of jobs, That's just my question to you guys, and I don't expect an answer right now. It's just, something for you guys to think about. It's something that I'm still willing to do, and I know Linda wants to stay, and, we're bringing money into the community. It's not that we're staying here for free, and that's gotta be helping the building. Okay?
Thank you.
Yep.
Ms. Vaughn.
Hi. My name's Gwen Vaughn. I have 3 children in the district, and I'm having mixed feelings about the sale of Whipple. I look at Whipple as a play space that gives us a space for our children, and for Hauppauge school residents should know that students are using these fields for youth sports, and my kids have played soccer here for many, many years. But another part of me is excited that the building will be sold for $13 million, as long as those funds are used to help our district. I picture things like new playgrounds at our elementary schools,
Those have already been approved and paid for. Next.
state-of-the-art turf fields,
We have 1.
and cutting-edge technology in the classroom. I guess my question is, I would like more information on that money and where it will be allotted.
Fair enough, and I think that's a fair question, and like spending any of the district's funds, that would be subject to resident approval, would it not? Capital projects?
Capital project.
Yeah. And Gwen, we do have approved a STEM lab as well that's paid for pursuant to the bond. So the three things you wanted, you're getting. Maybe we'll be able to get some more though. Sir?
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Rick Garcia. I live up the road here. My
I'm sorry,
Rick Garcia. My question is about the affordable 10% that you have to put in here.
Yeah.
All right, that's the state law, right? So how are you addressing that? What is I mean, you say you're not gonna have renters, how do you address that problem?
Hi, Rich Rosenberg again, General Counsel. The answer is, it's a town requirement. Okay, so the town is gonna require 10% satisfied affordability, they determine the price of it. What we were trying to explain was, the issue before everybody today is the referendum of whether the property gets sold. That's the sole issue. What we were trying to do, and the reason we put out to the community, is to give as much information as possible of what our plans are and what is ultimately gonna be there, but it's subject to the town of Islip approval of both the rezoning and the site plan.
Can I just add?
Yeah.
It is not rental housing. It's sold at what's deemed affordable prices.
What is affordable? I'm like, well, you know what I mean? It doesn't make it affordable.
Smithtown development as affordable, it was in the mid-3s is what they determined to be affordable, but it's determined by the town. That was the town of Smithtown. We go before the town of Islip and they would determine that.
So they'll determine the price that you could sell that 10% of these.
That's right.
That's 10% of these units.
That's right.
So, and the way they're sold is there are restrictions on resales of those houses, so they can't turn over every single year. There are restrictions on the prices that they can be sold at, so somebody can't buy, usually, this is the way it works. Someone can't buy it for $320,000 and then flip it the next year for $700,000. So, but it is all definitely for sale housing. And these are in most of the communities that are being built in Long Island now, so I would encourage anybody who is curious about it, go drive through Country Point Woods, where the Smithtown Hospital used to be. 10% is affordable there.
But that's, you said that's Smithtown. This is Islip Town.
I understand that, but it's the same concept. Wherever these are, whether it's in Islip, Hauppauge, Brookhaven, Oyster Bay, they are mixed in with the community, and you would have a hard time. In fact, I'd say you probably wouldn't be able to figure out which ones are affordable and which ones aren't very homes.
I can add to this too. So it's very interesting. The process to be approved to buy an affordable home is so rigorous that they're typically the last ones to get sold. That was actually the case in Smithtown. You have to have, a job history, a credit history, credit scores. It's a very rigorous process. So, yeah, we had 7 units a mile from here. You wouldn't be able to tell where they are. Wherever we build, that's a requirement. Now it's just government, regulation doing what they do. So, most often, the people who are affordable also are from the community. That's what we got in Smithtown.
Okay, that was my question tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Garcia. Ms. Graham?
Sometime during this pandemic, the town of Smithtown approved the industrial park apartments, and I know the district was fighting that, but I didn't.
And we still are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't have a resolution whether there will be kids from that area coming into the district. We do.
No, we don't. We do not have a resolution. We have a lawsuit.
Litigation is still pending.
Yeah,
So that's still pending.
that's still pending, right? Yes.
One question to go off of the 10%. Is that 10% still 65 and over?
Yes.
55. 55. That's all right.
I'm getting close.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. So yeah, if you want to kick the hornet's nest?
Just on the Hauppauge Industrial Park, I just want you to understand, because we were as concerned with what the Hauppauge Industrial Park is, everybody else is. And we reviewed with the town, we spoke with the town. There are 440 parcels in the town of Smithtown within that industrial park. The rezoning that they're talking about, the overlay district, affects only 13 parcels. Out of the 13 parcels, 2 of them are 100 and 102 on Motor Parkway. The third, which is the one that this board had objected to, was the developer was seeking a variance and they were looking for a large amount of units. That application has been withdrawn. If you might have seen it last week, they have contracted with Amazon. So currently with the town of Smithtown, there is no application.
Mr. Rosenberg, with all due respect, I don't believe, council just listened to me, I don't believe that's accurate, so why don't we just
Okay,
not talk about
no problem.
that? Anyway, all right, so the next hearing is October 6th, like I said, at the high school. By then, we will have the underlying traffic study as well as the backup data for the enrollment study for people to review. Last guy, what's up?
I live on Hoffman Lane,
Yes?
and the traffic is horrendous. It's in the mornings, you got from 347 right straight through to the expressway. This is gonna help, but listen.
So again, sir, they're gonna give us a traffic study, take a look at it. If you think it's deficient in some way, let us know.
Yeah, if you go down Hoffman Lane, yeah, it's double yellow line.
Yeah.
Nobody, that doesn't matter.
No, they fly up and down the road, we know that.
Last year, a deer got killed. I buried it. This year, another deer got killed. I buried it. And 19 years ago, I saved a boy's life, my son and I. We have a citation for the police department of our heroism. It was a head-on, right? And you're gonna put this in here, and there's no shoulder. Where is there a shoulder to pull off? Right?
Understood.
You can't even get the town to widen it or clean the edge. Where is this traffic gonna go? It's a speed, raceway now. I've been here 37 years. It's getting, and now you're gonna make it more worse.
Yes?
If I could just add something then. So typically what happens in a rezoning process with the town, this wouldn't happen here, because this is just a referendum on does the district want to do the sale or not. But the traffic gets thoroughly considered in the rezoning process. And oftentimes, what happens when these communities get approved is we are required by the town as a condition of the approval to make some traffic improvements to the local streets. So that could be a turnoff lane into the community so that people aren't just making a right off of the main street, so you'd add a turnoff lane, a stop sign. I'm just, what I'm trying to communicate is that doesn't get adjudicated here. There'll be plenty of time for that to be dealt with in the town rezoning process. And it's something that we are very open to, because we don't want to build communities on unsafe streets, hard to sell homes, frankly, if you're on an unsafe street, and our customers would be concerned. So I just want to communicate that is something that any traffic mitigation that we can do to help slow down cars on the street is something we're totally open to at the appropriate time when we're going through that process.
That's a fat chance, because you go down the road, and where you gonna find it out? Where's the traffic gonna go?
Sir, can we agree that you'll look at the traffic study and come to the meeting on the 6th and have additional questions once you review that? And thank you for your heroism in saving the boy's life. Yes, ma'am.
I have one question for the board.
Yes. Can you step up to the microphone a little bit?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
How can you get the word out to the seniors who don't go on the Hauppauge website?
So you tell me, how can we get the word out to the
Right.
seniors?
For example, we go up to the library, we have classes and things, a lot of them are seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew about this tonight.
No, I'm not being facetious. I'm actually asking you for suggestions.
Well, I'm asking you. You keep saying the calendar, the website.
I'm not a senior. I mean,
We're trying to see. We have no notification. They came to the house.
All right. No, so I'm asking you, what can we do? Tell me, and we'll do it. Tell me, what's the best way to reach out?
One mechanism on the website, there is Mrs. Mass alluded to.
However, you do have the ability, I'm gonna say something, you have a report on this somewhere. Okay, done, has the different ways to go through. Library, okay, your horizons, not that we get home ones anymore. Besides the website, there's a whole thing.
Yeah, let me just finish that thought, so she was on the website, there's an email blast, and
I
anybody can sign
understand,
it.
but you know
I just want,
how many seniors
Listen, it's a fair point, we'll do a better job.
they're not capable, let's say, with the
I
internet as
get it.
younger people.
I get it, I think of my mother-in-law next
Okay,
door, she's not on the internet, she's not, you
So
know,
you're saying you like this, the next meeting and the one after that.
Yeah.
It seems at our age, it's been going word of mouth, just what we are hearing, which a lot of it hasn't been correct.
yeah, so we'll do a better job, we'll ask Beechwood to do a better job as well.
I don't know if you could distribute a flyer to the homes, you know, to each home, because not everybody has school-age children.
Understood, I get it.
But for our part, we mailed out 8,000 postcards to district residents. We've had a stand set up at ShopRite every day.
Okay, well-
And we are walking local streets, knocking on doors. I realize not everybody likes to have their door knocked on, so we are trying to do our part.
I have to say something. I live on Hopkins, okay? I haven't gotten any flyer, and neither have any of my neighbors. None of us. And we are on this street. So where you're mailing them and to who, you know, where are they going?
That's a great, believe me, we paid for it, so I hope they went out to the community.
I mean-
But we'll look into it, and more will go out.
We want to have to be notified so that people could do it. That's one thing. Second thing, your meetings are at night. A lot of older people don't want to drive at night.
I understand, unfortunately for us, we all have day jobs.
Yeah,
You know, this is.
I understand.
So it's hard to have meetings during the day, the meetings are all online, they're recorded, you can watch them.
Again.
If you really get bored, you can watch them at your convenience.
You know, you're saying the same thing to us that we're saying to you, that it's not an easy way to notify an older person.
I understand.
And a lot of-
We're doing our best and we'll do better. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you, we'll try to do better.
Trying to figure out something for the next meeting.
Understood, well, tell all of your friends at your Mahjong game or whatever you have going on.
Exercising.
All right, exercises. You know, that October 6th is the next meeting. We're saying it now, it'll be on the website, and, you know, I don't know if we can do it by the phone, but we'll do whatever we can, we'll do it better.
Look, what I can also offer is anybody who wants to be kept in the loop to get up-to-date information. Carol Roscoe from Beechwood is
Right here.
over there. If you want to, after the meeting, give her your contact information, we will make sure that you are on our Beechwood's email communications.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Lily Klima. I knew Mr. Tasman. Well, we called him Taz at the high school. I worked at the high school for 30 years. I've been a member of this community for 50. Yes, I am a senior citizen, but I'd rather call myself a seasoned citizen. And I have a number of questions and comments. Congratulations, I did get information from you, from somebody knocking on my door, so I did find out about it. And that's why I'm here.
At least you work for somebody.
Yes, and it was a lovely brochure. I live about 5 blocks from here. My daughter was a Whipple student. School was shut down because of the dump, and she was now she's 50 years old. Meanwhile, I worked for 30 years to get the library, and so I hope it stays where it is, or at least a community place for us to go, not back into school. Secondly.
We're not touching on, that has nothing to do with us, we were responding to
It
this
was
man.
mentioned earlier.
Understood.
I'm looking perhaps to right size from my home here in Hauppauge. And I've been looking about where I would like to go. Thinking about a condo or a home in the neighborhood. Who are you going to attract to this community. Those of us who've got, fortunately, our mortgages paid off and our taxes are, I wouldn't say so low, but they're low by comparison because of the industrial park. Who are you going to attract? Not likely folks like myself who have a home here to move half a mile down into a condo. Because I'm very comfortable where I am. But I would like to understand that these homes, I don't think are going to go to Hauppauge seniors.
Well,
I don't know.
can you comment on that, what you're seeing on the communities?
I'd have to respectfully disagree with you on that. It may not be for you, but we often sell homes in the communities we build to local residents who don't want to deal with snow removal, garbage removal, cleaning the gutters, all the maintenance stuff that comes with a house. So again, I understand it may not be your cup of tea, but I have to disagree. We often sell a lot of the community to residents from nearby towns. It's just as good as.
Nearby towns, but not necessarily our town.
No, I mean, it would be silly if we didn't sell to the town you're in, but nearby towns. What I meant by that is the town that we build in and the surrounding area. And of course, look, people move from elsewhere. We don't discriminate. It's just a fact of life. People buy houses all over Hauppauge who move in from elsewhere. That would happen. But I think a lot of our buyers would also be local Hauppauge people. It's what we take some pleasure in doing in our business is building housing that allows seasoned citizens to remain in their communities but not have to deal with the maintenance of the house.
Yes.
And again, I understand it may not be for you, but I don't think that's true of everybody.
Well, I would hope that more people, more seniors who come from our own community to come here because we have connection, we have history. And that's
Can I say something from my chair?
No.
Please?
No. We have to, there's people at home that need to be able to hear you. And there's other people before you, just please, it's okay. Ma'am, Lily, thank you. Thank you. Ms. Kavanaugh.
2 questions. Do you know what the starting prices of your homes will be approximately?
So if it was today, our least expensive homes would start somewhere in the high 4s. Most of them would probably be in the low 500,000s. And then there would be larger townhomes that would probably be in the high 5s or low 6s.
Smithtown was 700,000.
Yes, I understand.
Wendy, further questions?
Will the board give us like what they think they're gonna do with the money prior to the vote? Is there gonna be some presentation on the spending of the money?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because my big concern is I don't wanna, say, yeah, let's sell it, get 13 million, and then it go like we did with the COVID funds into,
The answer is being told yes.
Okay, so we will get some
Yes,
type
yes.
of presentation? All right, thank you.
You got it. Sir, did you want the last guy, okay? Last one tonight, and there'll be other nights. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, he said people from the community are gonna buy, more than likely gonna buy into your 55 and older community. They're gonna sell their house to a younger couple who are then gonna have kids, hopefully, and it's gonna burden, isn't it gonna burden, if you get 100 people out of 128 to sell their houses, to move in there, and they're gonna sell it to a younger couple who are looking to start their own family, isn't that gonna eventually be a burden to the school? It's gonna bring more people to school.
Sir, you know what, it's a fair point, and perhaps we'll ask.
Because you're putting this on, showing the people that we don't have enrollment, when we do in fact have enrollment, and COVID babies are on the way.
We didn't say we didn't have enrollment, Frank. We presented the data, or they presented the data. What you just said is a good point, but let's ask, once we see the data, let me just finish, let's ask, the BOCES people whether they took that into account, if they haven't, if they can.
And please, can I ask that they be honest with everybody, because I've heard a lot.
When you say they,
They meaning who's selling this dream to everybody.
Be honest.
Be honest
Be good.
with people, because I've got plenty of lies,
Understood.
not saying for myself.
All right, thank you very much. Like I said, the next public,
Sir, can I just answer that one question? I gotta make the point that the seniors who are moving into our community, if they didn't move into our community, would be moving elsewhere. They're moving because they want to get out of their houses. So it doesn't make a difference whether they move to a community here, or to Florida, or to the Carolinas, or somewhere else on Long Island. They're selling their house regardless. So I just have to respectfully disagree with the idea that this is somehow going to encourage more school children to come into the district than otherwise would.
When they sell the house. When they sell their house to move to go.
I understand. Yeah, but they're gonna move anyway because they're at the stage of life where they have to move.
Giselle, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't we have?
You have to come up here so people at home can hear you. This is the absolute last question tonight.
Sitting in that chair sucks. Okay.
In this chair?
No, that one. Okay.
Because this one sucks also.
Okay,
For
just
different
for the
reasons.
record. Okay. I didn't find out about this meeting till I walked into ShopRite yesterday. Okay? Don't we have mailing lists? Yes. How about a postcard for the mailing list? You do send out postcards to go vote.
I think Beechwood said that they send out postcards, but to Gene's point that he made in my ear, there's nothing wrong with treating this like a budget type of, where we try to get everyone out. There's nothing wrong with that.
But you do send out postcards to say, come vote and win the vote.
Giselle, take yes for an answer.
Okay, also, okay, just so that you know, okay, at the corner of Lincoln and Vets
This
Highway.
isn't a question.
No, they're planning to build a assisted living facility, 179 units, okay? We weren't notified as residents on Lincoln Boulevard, which is also a dangerous road to drive down, just like Hoffman Lane. Because I see the cars speed down this road.
I don't think that has anything to do with us.
No, but the thing, my point is, okay, that none of the neighbors got notified. Only 4 neighbors showed up for the meeting because only 4 neighbors got notified. And not many of the neighbors or the residents in this area were notified or properly notified.
Understood. I understand.
Do a mailing.
Is there a question?
Do a mailing.
It's a statement, but I'll change it to, can you do a mailing? And the answer is yes. Jeopardy. All right, thank you very much. We're gonna take a quick, you guys are done? We're gonna take a quick 5-minute break and then come back to the rest of our meeting. Thank you. I guess. Yeah. Thank you very much, Steve. Good, thank you. 6 on the agenda is questions and comments on tonight's agenda only. Does anyone, Ms. Mass?
Yes, I did. 7.1D.
7.1D, yes.
You have the lovely, well thought out, however, one area, it says, the plan says you have to have a COVID test to come back or be cleared by a physician. I happen to had to go over to, City MD. My question is, and somebody was asking for a COVID test and found out they needed a PCR.
Yeah, can you
I think it needs to be a little bit more.
Ma'am.
My question is, can it be made clearer to others to your school district people, whether it's PCR or a rapid test they need?
Dr. Murphy?
Yeah, so the plan that you have there, this is really a retroactive approval because
Okay.
obviously the school year already began. When this plan was constructed, it was based upon what we knew at the time.
Right.
In the very recent past, last week, we got confirmation about our newest guidance confirmed by our lawyers that it has to be a PCR. So, yes, I mean, that document is something that will probably, evolve over time, not just in that area, but all areas as we learn what else is new. So it's gonna exist the way it was, as it was settled on at the end of August into the first day of school, but then we will update it and have different versions, to your point.
And how will it be disseminated to the parents? In other words, not just to go on it and see it?
Well, things like that are sent home via Parent Square and are very specific. That's a big one.
Right, so you'll clarify on it that I have.
Yeah, that just came home.
Thank you, Ms. Mass, yes.
On the same note with the PCR test, because I did get that home that it's no longer a rapid, it's PCR. Are you, not you, and I hate to say that word, but the district, requiring teachers to test that aren't vaccinated?
So that's guidance now that we are, again, our approach with all guidance and forget about guidance, all mandates and all commissioners' regs, all of that, is to be thoughtful and seek counsel about exactly what we are required to do. So we're working our way through that process. You may hear that some districts are already well into that process, right, of testing, screening, testing, and we are taking those initial steps. So we're at that point. We're trying to figure out exactly what that has to look like. It is something that we believe is mandatory, but we're working our way through the mechanics of it.
Here's my question. Are the teachers, because obviously this has to be done on a weekly basis, I'm assuming, again, I'm going on assumption, are they taking a rapid test or are they taking a PCR test? If they're taking a PCR test, that takes 3 days unless you go to 2 locations on Long Island that do the rapid PCR or whatever. If that's the case and they're only gonna do the 3 days, who's paying the teacher's salary? And why is a rapid okay for a teacher but not a student?
Yeah, this would be, Mr. Tasman is confirming for me, this would be a rapid test. It's meant to be, again, we're adhering to what we're required to do, and the goal is to not have faculty staff out of the building for any significant length of time, which is the rapid.
Okay, but that's my point. If a teacher can get a rapid and it's okay for the teacher to come back to school who sees more than just the classroom, why is it not okay for a student to get a rapid and has to be out of school for 3 days to wait for that PCR test? A doesn't match B.
I'll give you my opinion on, so one is a screening operation for asymptomatic individuals in the case of faculty staff. The other is a PCR is needed if there's a symptom and a physician is having them tested. The test that we're required to accept is the PCR.
Right.
It's not a screening
Okay,
in the
but
case
if
of
my
this.
son
I'm just telling you the way.
Okay, but if my son leaves school and has a headache, that's a symptom of a COVID, even though my son gets headaches, okay, but then I gotta go to the doctor and I gotta pay to have him write a note to say that it's this. When now you're gonna tell me that my son has to stay out for 3 days, And now my son's not getting any schooling, but it's okay for a teacher. It just, and I know it's not your mandate, but it makes 0 sense. 0 cents.
The only thing I would add is in the document I sent home to the community, it speaks of a pre-existing condition. So a doctor who has a patient that they know, let's say, has a history of migraines and knows that this is what's the cause of the headache, it's not COVID related, there is that mechanism for that, Joe, I'm not speaking that through with that, I don't think. But that's in the guidance, and we sent that home. We tried to summarize it. If you read the guidance document, it's confusing. So that's why we waited like a day, conferred with our legal team to send that home.
So if a teacher leaves school sick, they have to get a PCR test?
Yes.
And they have to wait 3 days?
Yes. Yes.
Who pays, do they have to take sick time or do they pay? Because if they're paid, we're paying them.
Joe, you gotta get on the mic if you're gonna say something.
Yeah, the teacher's able, some instances, if it's with COVID, the teacher can teach from home. They can teach from home and use their own time.
So they can teach from home, but my kid can't
They
learn
can use their
from
own
home?
time.
Well, remember, it's not the teacher who's deciding on this requirement. And I'll just tell you, what we learned from last year is that our community would rather always that their child's teacher is the one teaching them as opposed to a set.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't
So that's
be teaching
our
from
thinking.
home, that's fine, but my point is, the teacher can teach from home, but my child can't learn from home.
No, we've adopted an approach called quarantine-based instruction that was also in the letter I sent home. And in that case, we're providing instruction, really 2 ways. We have our asynchronous opportunities through Google Classroom. All teachers are updating that. And then there will be a certain amount of hours that are available that the teacher would reach out to the parent or to connect with the student individually, live.
Mr. Russo.
And I'm happy to, I didn't catch your name, I'm happy to talk to you further about that.
That's
if you have
fine,
any
it's
questions.
just, I know it's not your fault, and it's not anybody's
No,
fault.
you're asking great questions, and I appreciate your approach. Yeah,
Logical sense.
this is tricky stuff, it's a good question.
Mr. Russo,
Mr. Cook resigned, you know why he resigned from high school principal?
you took a position elsewhere.
And I raised this question before, when we do our interview process, we can't get the names out that we're interviewing.
Correct.
Where they're coming from.
Say that last part again?
You don't want to damage their position where they're coming from, so they come over here, interview, don't tell their school they're leaving. But now we're on the other end where he interviewed and just dropped the resignation on us, now we're short.
Well, during our process, we always then go through checking references and such at the right time of our process, which we'll do here as well.
But yes, to your point, it seems like it's unfair, but it is what it is, yeah.
Now at the end of the year, or just it's September 1st, we can replace them, now we're behind the 8 ball now.
No, we're with you.
The whole process of getting another principal in there, or somebody else.
Yep, yes.
We'll do that.
Yes, ma'am.
As I suggested before, this is it forever. So since COVID,
Start again, I'm sorry.
since COVID forever, and this is a new normal that everyone has to live with until 1,000 years from now, wouldn't it make sense to have cameras in each classroom so that when, considering this is a new normal forever, students are going to be repeatedly, constantly quarantined, they could easily therefore learn from home because there is a live stream in the classroom? Is that?
All right, so putting cameras in classrooms is not something we consider right now.
No, I'm saying, we're not.
Most teachers do have a Chromebook or something that.
Laura, you gotta put your mask on, I'm sorry.
I'm saying,
Teachers have it, that they have the Chromebooks or something to live stream on, so most teachers do have that capacity.
okay, because my understanding is that they were not all live streaming to,
Well, depending on how the rules are.
Does anyone have questions or comments for the board?
That's what I was asking about, the live streaming of these
Yeah,
classes.
so, Dr. Murphy.
We're not live streaming. Our approach is if we have students who are quarantined, then we're supporting them in the ways I just answered before. Asynchronously and synchronously.
Yes. It's very, very, very difficult to hear you, sorry.
Do we know how many cases there have been since this school year has started?
Yeah, so we have a dashboard on the school website where it has our cases. I'm gonna send out reminders about where you can get that data. Eventually, it's gonna be a link directly to New York State website, which will be, they house all the data.
Thank you. Yes, Lori?
Why isn't the saliva test made accessible, being that other districts are taking saliva tests also, and it's nothing chemicals being put inside your nose? That is.
I'm not a medical guy, I don't know if that's a PCR test, it's a PCR test.
No, you can do the saliva test, so you don't actually have a chemical inside your nose, and that is.
Is that what Smithtown is doing?
That's been said, they haven't finalized it, they said we are accepting that.
Right.
And I didn't realize too with if the kids quarantined, teachers do have to live stream just for that, and it can only be for a child quarantined for COVID, not for because parents are home sick. Why isn't there a live streaming, every teacher has a computer in the classroom, not that there's a video camera on the teacher, but there's some type of live instruction that you can go live on Google Classroom, and address Google Classroom.
Okay. Philosophically, we don't believe that live streaming is good for either audience. It dilutes the experience for both audiences, so what we've adopted is an approach where students who are quarantined will actually get a better experience because they'll have individual attention from their teacher or a qualified colleague. So the parents who have been on the other end of our new approach have been happy with it, and HTA has been great with this approach, and we feel it's a value add.
Thank you. Yes?
I have another question, I'm sorry.
It's okay. After you, we're gonna ask everyone to come up to the podium though if you want to speak. Yeah, do you mind coming up? What?
I don't.
No, it is.
This, just a quick question.
Yes.
I know all of you, I'm sure, are aware of the lawsuit in Massapequa put out that was
Yeah.
and 4 other school districts have joined them. Do we have any indication?
So this has
that-
nothing to do with tonight's agenda, but we're gonna answer it anyway because you came up to the podium and are so far. Gene, do you mind?
So, yes, we contacted the attorneys for Massapequa and local settlement, the hamburger firm in Millville, and we were advised that the lawsuit had already been filed and that they were not entertaining any further plaintiffs. They said that perhaps an additional lawsuit could be brought later in the year, but we've not heard back from them. And I have looked at all the papers, I shared the papers with all of my school district clients, and we don't necessarily believe that any further lawsuit would affect the outcome. In other words, additional plaintiffs, we believe that if the regulation is struck down, it's struck down. And therefore, boards have to make a determination, communities have to make a determination as to whether an additional lawsuit at taxpayer expense to retain their own attorney or the hamburger firm or some other special counsel would be worthwhile.
Okay, yeah, because there's 5 districts within that now. There's not just,
I haven't seen that.
there's Locust Valley, Eastport, South Manor, Manorville, and Lindenhurst. They've all joined Massapequa.
I'll check on the Albany County Supreme Court website. The last time I looked at it, which was not so long ago, it was just Locust Valley, Massapequa. I'll double check on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving to the consent agenda, are there any items that members would like to have removed from the consent agenda? Yes, Ms. Capici? I can't hear you, I'm sorry. 7.1. 71B1. Any others? I would remove 7.2A4. I will also remove 7.2A, bear with me. A1 as to Rebecca Bilski and Gary Campanelli only. Any other items that members would like to have removed? With that, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda, less those items stated. Thank you, Mr. Fortmeyer. Thank you, Ms. Salvia. For the second, any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0. Turning to the items that were removed from the consent agenda, excuse me. 7.1B1, B1. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Kiley. Mr. Fortmeyer with the second. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 6-1. Ms. Capisi voting no. 7.2A4, appointment of substitutes. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Dr. Crapper. Second? Anyone? Sure. Thank you, Mr. Scarito. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 6-0-1. Mr. Barchet abstaining. 7.2A1, which was removed by me as to Rebecca Bilski and Gary Campanelli only. Do I have a motion? I'll make the motion myself. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Scarito, for the second. Discussion? Before we vote, I'll invite Dr. Murphy to join in our discussion.
Yeah, so
just to be clear, I'm sorry, we're voting right now just on the appointment of Rebecca Bilski.
Sure. So I just wanted to acknowledge Mrs. Bilski here tonight. Earlier in the night, her husband was here with the kiddos. They fell asleep in the first 20 minutes. We thoughtfully brought them home to their beds. Having Rebecca join the central office team is just an extreme highlight for the district in so many ways. You are experienced, your thoughtful leadership, your advocacy, your collaboration with parents, your just dedication to kids that I've seen every day since you've been in the district. It's just a perfect blend of leadership skills, and it's going to benefit our kids, our neediest kids most of all. And so I, of course, endorse this appointment.
Thank you. Well, with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 6-0-1. Ms. Capisi voting no. 7.2A1 as to Mr. Campanelli. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Mr. Fortmeyer. Mr. Scarito with the second. Any discussion? Again, I'll invite Dr. Murphy.
Yes, so tonight in the audience we have Gary Campanelli with his lovely wife. Gary's coming to us after an extensive search for Director of Guidance and Student Outcomes. And we're thrilled. He's worked for years as a counselor in Half Hollow Hills, and we've been able to work with him and the district to actually get him here a bit early, starting on October 1st. To hit the ground running, and we're thrilled to have Gary here tonight for the school.
Thank you. With that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 7-0. Congratulations to Ms. Bilski and Mr. Campanelli. And also congratulations to our district clerk, Lori DeGeorge, for another year with us. We are forever grateful. No, well, not forever. We're grateful. That concludes the consent agenda. Number 8, policies are on committee reports are not on today's agenda. Discussion matters there are none. Where's the field trip? That's part of the consent agenda. Did you have? Because that, excuse me, that's the motion for the entire consent. That's right. Point of order. Discussion matters are on new business. Do any board members have new business they'd like to discuss? Mr. Scarito.
Dr. Murphy, you know, with this COVID going up and down like a roller coaster, probably worse than the stock market right now, but does the school have an idea of what percentage they're going to try to put? The school in New York City shut down, like just like that, the one school. Have they given us a number as far as that goes? Because parents have brought up a good issue that all of a sudden they send the kids home tomorrow, there's no learning.
Yeah, I don't know of a threshold that the state has advertised. I would say what I can safely report, I believe, from our data is that the measures we're taking in school The approach we're taking in the buildings, the principals have been fantastic. All administrators, the teachers, in terms of the protocols of separating desks and having the balance with our masks and other things. We're able to mitigate quarantining that originate from anything happening within the school.
Is there a bright line number, Dr. Murphy? Bright line percentage or number of students?
No, I mean, no.
To which we're going to close the school, whether internal or through the Department of Health?
No.
I think that was,
Yes.
Sorry,
trying to disclose.
that was a little work.
That's all right.
Until she changes the runs where additionally, maybe something else.
Any other new business from any board members? Ms. Capisi? Do you mind using a microphone, Ms. Capisi?
I would ask to have policy 9230, professional staff recruiting and hiring reviewed by the policy committee. I would like to publicly state that I believe that Superintendent Bilski is more than well qualified for the position that she holds, and I had a discussion with her before this meeting. But I feel that our policy could be tightened up, and my vote for no was a result of that belief and not any independent qualifications.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Tasman. I'll ask that you commit 9230 to the policy committee's agenda. Yes.
The second item is regarding policy 4741, which is class rank. So I would ask that a process be developed and put into place which would allow students to request to be notified of what their class rank is, and also that upon their request that rank be provided to any colleges to which they're applying or to any scholarship programs to which they're applying.
Very good, and I'll ask Dr. Murphy, since we already have a policy in place, I'll ask Dr. Murphy to review that policy for the appropriateness of a superintendent's regulation to address Ms. Capisi's comments to the extent that it's right and appropriate. You'll review it if a regulation is appropriate. If it's not, you'll tell us why, and you'll let us know whether there's some other process or something that we should follow. However, I am a fan of, and I'm sure the board is as well, regulations that are viewable and vettable, and I don't know what else. Anyway, any other? Thank you, Colleen. Any other new business from board members? New business from administration?
No.
Questions or comments from the community? We'll go first. I think there's only a couple of virtual questions, for lack of a better term. Why don't we, could you moderate those? How many do we have?
4. Quickly, they were addressed tonight to a degree. Mrs. Mass is in the audience. I think we've answered your question about where to find the contract on the website. We're adding resources there, including the transportation report that we asked about tonight. Mrs. Diesso and Mrs. Sconziano both asked about the funds. What will they be used for? So we discussed tonight that we'll prepare a presentation to speak to a general construct for the use of the funds. And then Mrs. Sconziano also shared just want to read the question. Will the schools be rezoned and some moved out of the district zone into neighboring districts? I don't believe so, no.
Wait, I don't think we've heard anything about rezoning of school districts. Isn't, Jean, have you?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Pretty definitive.
That's it.
Okay. Questions or comments from the community concerning anything related to the district whatsoever?
I have another question in regards to like the,
Yeah, if you don't mind.
I had heard that there's, and I'm assuming that this gentleman that's walking out the door now is the guidance counselor head.
Head of guidance, yes.
There's also an opening for, if I may get this wrong.
Yep.
Is it the foreign language? There's no like head or something of that?
Dr. McCarthy right now is overseeing foreign language.
Okay. So that was open, but now he's overseeing it, am I right to
Right
think
now,
that?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, it wasn't open, he was always in charge of that to begin with, yeah.
Okay.
He's just now sitting in a better seat. All right, so we'll have executive session beginning in 7 minutes to seek advice from council. I'll take a motion for an adjournment. Our next meeting is October 19th, 2021. However, the meeting at the high school concerning the sale of the building is October 6th, and the information is on the website. I'll take a motion for adjournment. Mr. Kyler with the motion, Ms. Salvia with the second. Any discussion? All those in favor? 7-0, we are adjourned. Executive session will begin in 6 minutes.